Hello. Today we're going to take you on a journey through the life cycle of a cell and why it is so important to our everyday lives. Everyone in their life at one point in time has experienced a cut or injury. It can range from something as simple as a paper cut or maybe something more serious like a broken bone. The most fascinating thing about the human body is the ability to heal itself. But sometimes we take it for granted, and we need to understand how this all happens. Some may think band-aids work wonders with the healing process, which they do, in terms of protecting the cut from infection or preventing further damage. But the real healing takes place at the cellular level. Now sit back and prepare to learn about how our cells grow and divide in order to heal our cuts by replacing old or damaged cells. Now wake up and let's get started on this cellular journey. Listen to hear the events of what we call the cell cycle. We're going to examine the events of each step in order to better understand this whole concept. The G1 phase is where the cell begins to grow in order to provide enough room for the cell to begin copying its organelles and to prepare for the DNA to be copied. The synthesis phase comes next, where DNA is copied. This is extremely important because in the end, each new cell needs their own DNA. Next up, the G2 phase. This is the last step of what we call interphase. It comes right before the cell starts dividing. During the G2 phase, the cell does some of its final growing and produces any last-minute proteins needed for the rest of its journey. Now we enter what is known as the M phase, also known as mitosis. This is where the cell begins to divide. Mitosis consists of 4 steps listed: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Let's begin. The very first step is known as prophase. In prophase, the chromosomes start to form. As the DNA condenses, the membrane starts to disappear, and the spindle fibers start stretching across the cell. Next is metaphase. In metaphase, the chromosomes line up in the middle, and the spindle fibers attach to the center of the chromosomes, known as the centromere. After metaphase is anaphase. During anaphase, the chromatids of each chromosome separate into separate chromosomes and are pulled to opposite ends of the cell. The last step in mitosis is telophase. During telophase, a nuclear membrane forms around each group of chromosomes. The DNA returns to a loose mass of strands, and the cell membrane starts to form again. We're almost done. But now that we've finished mitosis, the final step of the cell's life cycle is cytokinesis. This is where the cytoplasm splits, producing 2 identical daughter cells. These 2 new cells are how our body replaces those damaged cells. As the hundreds and thousands of cells divide, this results in a nicely healed injury. As these cells continue on their journeys, they will restart this cell cycle. And in the end, we will have 2 more identical daughter cells produced.